very loud portion of Pokemon fans will say that Pokemon designs are always better in the beginning, like the earlier generations, 1 through 3. But in reality, these are stinkers. Come on, are you really gonna defend some of these designs like Seal? It's a seal named Seal, or the pile of sludge named Muck. Now that's a thinker. That's a thinker right there. People also say that some of the modern pseudo-legendaries, being the strongest Pokemon besides legendaries of each region, they think those are worse now, which I think is a blatant falsehood, considering how earlier pseudo-legendaries were just a big fat dragon. Don't get me wrong, I like Dragonite. I think he's funny. The new Mega's not good, but I like him. And on the more modern side, we have Dracopult, who is one of the best 2 legendaries ever made. It is such a good design. Dracopult is literally a B2 stealth bomber, and its tail is translucent because you're not meant to see it. That is so good. It is such a good design. It is amazing. I love it. But the one thing Gen 1ers are correct about is the questionable quality of modern Pokemon games. They are with Sword and Shield having one of the worst stories in any piece of media I've ever seen, and Scarlet and Violet's quality being it's unique. Today I'm going to yap about the designs of modern Pokemon, how they've gotten better, and how the games have gotten worse. But both of these things are intentional because Pokemon Company loves the US dollar and all currencies. Yay! Before I get into specific Pokemon designs, I want to talk about how the design philosophy of Pokemon has changed. In the earlier generations, most Pokemon are just some amalgamation of animals or things put in a blender, and they give you the result. My favorite Gen Pokemon is Nidoking, but it is a bug, dinosaur, elephant, rhino thing. And that's it. There's no deeper cultural meaning. It's not based on any Japanese myth or anything. It's just a cool thing. That's it. This is how it was back then. And with modern designs, they also take into the Pokemon's behaviors a lot more in order to characterize them to get the fans to be more attached to them. A modern example of this is Tinkaton, a Pokemon people love due to the fact that it is a pink little gremlin demon that snipes birds with a hammer out of sheer spite. But if you look at Tinkaton on its own, you might like it already, but the fact that its actions are so chaotic, it gives it more of a character, as people like it even more. Earlier generations don't focus on specific behaviors like this, which is one reason why modern designs are overall more creative, because old designs simply focus on mashing animals together, while modern designs also focus in the Pokemon's behaviors along with how it ties into the region. Tinkaton is actually based off a blacksmith, and blacksmithing was really big in the Iberian Peninsula, which Paldea is based on, the region from Tinkaton is from. In recent generations, the designs turn not only to be characters, but also based off of certain cultural or historical things based on certain regions. Galar, the region for Gen 8, although with a horrible story, and the game is not great, the actual Pokemon designs are very, very good. In order to base off Britain, they chose the pseudo-legendary Dracopult, which is meant to be a B2 stealth bomber. What it's meant to represent is meant to be Britain's significant innovation in aviation, because in World War II, they were one of the big innovators in that. So that's why they chose Dracopult to be a B2 stealth bomber, which is, it's so good. It's so good, I love it. A more glaring Pokemon that based off of actual history, although these designs are rather disliked, I like them, but a lot of people don't like them, is the 4 fossils for this generation. They are intentionally ugly, and that is by design. So what these fossils are meant to be based off of is the Bone Wars. And what the Bone Wars are, it's a brief period in British history where a bunch of rich, petty paleontologists who had a lot of money were spending tons just to get more fossils to prove to their other rich friends that, I found this, I found Megalosaurus, I'm so cool, I'm awesome. And what this did is it led to these paleontologists getting impatient and wanting to win the Bone Wars. They would take fossils that did not match and mash them together. And that's why you see certain dinosaurs like the Iguanodon, Megalosaurus changing throughout history over and over again, because a lot of times they just use wrong fossils. Have the bragging rights of saying, I found this first, look how cool I am. And it's represented in Gen 8 through the Galar fossils. You bring them to a woman who's named Kara Liss. Really creative name, by the way. You just give her 2 of the fossil parts and it spits out some amalgamation dinosaur that clearly looks wrong. That is why the Gen 8 fossils are so weird. Another example is Tatsugiri and Dondozo in Generation 9 in Paldea. Now, on surface value, you'll think it's really silly that a sushi fish and a and a bigger sushi fish are in the region based off Spain. There's actually a reason for it, and it's very, very cool, and it's actually based off real history. So put on your thinking caps, kiddos. Tatsugiri is meant to represent Portugal, and Dondozo represents Japan. So the reason why this is that Portugal taught Japan how to do tempura and other cooking methods that we still associate with Japan. And after teaching Japan how to do all these other cooking methods, Japan in turn became one of Portugal's allies, and Japan had very few allies, so this is actually a rare occurrence. And this represented as Tatsugiri and Dondozo working together in game. Like Tatsugiri will sit in Dondozo's mouth and give it commands because Portugal taught Japan how to make certain things. That's what it's meant to represent. I think it's super creative and cool design, whereas early generations are like, yeah, they got a fire dragon. There's a turtle with cannons on its back. Which, don't get me wrong, I like the Gen 1 starters, they're cool, but they're just not as layered, we'll put it. Most designs go underappreciated though, because when you go to the area that you see Dondozo, you aren't caring about its design, because when you see it, there's tons of them in this huge lake and your game breaks up and instantly dies and it looks like shit. Alright, here's where the glazing stops and become a lot more grumpy and old. So modern Pokemon games since X and Y have not exactly been great. They've been not good, actually, objectively. There's a few exceptions to this, but most Pokemon games are pretty bad, whether it be to poor writing, excessive hand-holding, or just the games just flat out not working. X and Y had one of the silliest stories of any Pokemon game, with Lysander making absolutely zero sense as a villain. His whole motives go against his actions, and the fact that he uses Mega Pokemon is a complete slap in the face to his whole goals. So, there's that. X and Y just turned off creativity also when it comes to new generations. Granted, 7 through 9 are good generations, but X and Y is not great. There's only 70 Pokemon because they put all their creative juice into making the old versions of Pokemon new and cool. So you have Charizard, but it's black and with fire out of its mouth. You have another Charizard that has a horn on its head. And in doing this, they make the Gen 6 starters just blatantly worse because your starter, whether it be Froakie, Chespin, or Fennekin, can't Mega Evolve like Charizard, Blastoise, or Venusaur. Because in those games, they give you 2 starters, and the Gen 1 starter is blatantly better. Sure, Greninja is one of the best starters with abilities, but from a strictly stat perspective, they give you a Mega, incentivizing you to not use your starter and use the Gen 1 starter more. That's so dumb. Also, they gave no Gen 6 Pokemon a Mega. ZA comes out in October, and it probably will. I'm betting they have to. If they don't, that's just, oh my god, that's so silly. But Gen 6 gave no Megas to Gen 6 Pokemon. It's so dumb. It's so stupid. Gen 6 also began the cardinal sin in modern Pokemon games, that being the bare bones nothing post games. Because Black and White 2, the game before X and Y, had a phenomenal post game. There's so much you can do. Has one of the best rewards for completing the Pokedex. You get a free shiny Haxorus. You can fight literally every gym leader and fight all the Elite Four. It's so good. It's amazing. But Gen 6 rocks around and goes, hey, you can catch Zygarde, who are not going to explain at all in this game. What about Mewtwo? We made 2 new ones. Isn't that pretty cool? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Sun and Moon, although having one of the best generations with Johnny Bravo Bug and a spiteful dying God of Light, that's pretty cool. The game limits the player so much by constant hand-holding, by whenever you turn a corner or go into a new building, someone pauses your game and forces you to have a conversation with them. You can't just explore the region. Gen 7 is very linear. You have to go do this trial. Okay, you did that trial, great. Hal will talk to you for God knows how long. And then, oh look, a Kui's talking to you. And then, oh look, you have this stretch of brief freedom. But then you gotta go to the next trial and you do that until you beat the game. So that's not great. The main battle gimmick of this game limits your creativity so much. It's literally just a one-shot move. You get one shot, once per fight, essentially guaranteed. It's so dumb. It's so stupid. However, this story isn't as bad as what I'm going to talk about next, being Sword and Shield. I'm going to spend a minute talking about how much I dislike Sword and Shield's story. So if you don't want to hear that and you want to get to the actual technical issues, here's that time. Okay, here we go. The main antagonist for Sword and Shield, Chairman Rose, is one of the worst villains I've ever seen any piece of media I've ever consumed in my entire life. He's horrific. His main motivation for starting the second coming of the apocalypse is he couldn't wait one day, a singular day, for a problem that happened in 1,000 years. The one day he starts the apocalypse is when his Golden Boy champion has a huge match that'll make him a ton of money in his battle agency. It's so dumb. Rose is also written like a bumbling moron, both in his actions and in his actual dialogue, despite being the man who invented the gym system in Galar and made the most advanced city in Galar, being Winden, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know or care. The way he acts as a player, he just gives huge exposition dumps, saying, oh, this is happening, player. But I'm not gonna say it to you directly. I'm gonna say it to Sonya, or Hop, or Leon, and you will watch as an exposition dump. And then when the plot becomes too complicated, I will instead write that off and say, oh, the adults will handle it. Remember, the adults will handle the problem here. Which makes zero sense, because in Gen 8, you are a kid and you beat the gym leaders who are adults. And so why are you lesser than them when your Pokemon are clearly stronger? This is a game. You should be involved in the story. In other Pokemon games, when there'd be huge threats, you would be there. In Gen 4, you just stare down Giratina, this Pokemon demon worm, and it's like, oh look, Satan's here, hello. In Gen 5, you witness Kyurem nearly kill you until one of the other box legendaries comes to help you. In Gen 8, you literally just sit there as Rose goes, oh, don't worry about the plot. You'll be taken care of. Just sit and watch. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And as for how the game tells you to like him, how do you think they characterize him through music? You think they give him the deserving clown theme, the circus theme? No. How about a generic battle theme? No. No. When you fight Rose, you encounter a near Dark Souls track for this moron of a character whose team is so easy to beat. His team is all steel based, so if you just have fire, it's like, okay, it's all dead. Here's the track. It's absurd. Why does this man get a theme this dramatic and grandiose when he has the emotional maturity of a middle schooler? This theme would be fitting if the character earned it, if he actually proved himself to be a threat, but instead, the story literally just tells you that he's stupid. The other characters tell you, hey, yeah, Rose is impatient. That doesn't make him threatening at all, because the whole darkest day, he's not controlling it, he just starts it. So he has no power in it. Eternatus just shows up and just goes, I am the big super dragon. Look at me, I shoot lasers. Okay, now that my narrative rant is done, here's the actual technical problems with Sword and Shield, which are not nearly as bad. They're not as bad, but they're still really bad. They're still off. The first issue I'm talking about is how linear this game is. All of these routes are nearly straight lines with trainers in passive grass with the Pokemans in them. All of these routes are like that. But some routes, the creative ones, they have two diverging paths, and they converge back at one. You get the illusion of choice in your Pokemon game. And the way they make these boring routes entertaining is by having Hop or other trainers just berate you. It's like, you fight Hop 15 times. Another thing is the game slows down drastically for the simplest information. When you register a Pokemon in your Pokedex, it will literally tell you all of its weaknesses given your Pokemon. So if you have a Sobble and the opponent is using a, what's the Gen 8 starter? Scorbunny, it'll tell you super effective on the water gun. And then when you use that on the starter, the other trainer will break into this horrible, terrible cutscene, to put it really exaggeratory, saying, oh my god, you're so smart. How'd you know that? The game told me! That's how! And this problem carries on for the entire game. You'll fight Leon, the champion, and you've seen so many Pokemon, you have like a full stacked lineup. And they'll be like, dang, how'd you know fighting is weak to flying? What do you mean? In Sword and Shield, they also have terrible like rendering distances. You have to walk so close to a Pokemon for it to appear. And if there's like more than 8, the game will slow down quite a bit. So it's not great technologically. The writing is terrible. The battle system feels clunky. But the generation's good. The generation's good. There's a lot of cool Pokemon in the generation that are based on British history and culture. Yeah, Sword and Shield's technology isn't stellar, but it's not nearly as bad as Gen 9's with Scarlet and Violet. Oh my god. These games just do not work a lot of the time. I remember when I was playing, the main thing that happened, because I was very lucky when I played, and my main thing is that the music wouldn't work for a lot of the encounters. Like the Elite Four, the music would never pick up. It would just be this nearly beeping for the entire time. One thing about Gen 9 though is that it had a good story. The Area Zero plot with Arven is actually the best Pokemon story since Black 5. Black 5. Since Black and White, then Black and White 2. Granted, they're not nearly as good, obviously. Like, duh. However, despite the good story in Gen 8, well, ignoring the Team Star subplot, that's awful, the textures in this game are just horrific. They look like Banjo-Kazooie. This game came out in 2023. It outsold God of War Ragnarok, which is absurd. But guess what? This is all intentional. This is all by design. Do you know why? Because they make the games bad, because they can focus their resources on making designs, and if they make good designs, they will sell more merchandise. Here's a plot twist. I'm a hypocrite. I bought this years ago. Things like this. Plushies, cards, Knuckle Salt Shaker. These are all why modern Pokemon games suck. They put more of their resources towards the designs. There's a reason why Gen 9 has some really good designs. A lot of the designs can fit very well into a household. I'm just saying, I love Gen 5, and there's a lot of object Pokemon, and nearly all of them have some form of merchandise that you can get. There's Chandelure lamps, there's Knuckle Salt Shakers, there's Dondozo sushi table. Like, there's so many little things, and this is why the design's good, so you get more attached to them, so you fork over the money. The Pokemon Company makes more money overall by selling you a crappy game you'll blow through and then spend tons on merch instead of one game that keeps your attention for like 1,000 hours. That makes them a lot less money. So what do? They focus their resources for making cooler designs. That's it. But some of you might still think, oh, but their designs suck. We don't like modern designs. We think yours beasts are lame. If you do, you're also wrong. They're very cool. And actually really creative designs. But if you still think this, why are $10 Gen 7 plushies selling for $50 secondhand? $40. They're selling. They're this big. They're selling for so much. Do you know why? Because people like these modern designs. They're very popular. If you look at the polls the Pokemon made for most popular Pokemon, a lot of modern designs are up there. More than the old ones. Who cares if Dracovish, one of the fossils I referenced earlier, is a nightmare in terms of the game's balance? Vicious Rend is stupid. It's a dumb stab move that goes through everything. But guess what? Hush, hush, little worries, little seal. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna sell you a $150 big fat Dracovish plushie. With Legend ZA just a few months away, there's a reason why people are excited for it. People are not excited for catching a Pokemon next to a car in fake France. They're excited for new Megas. With the hype of Megas returning, the most recent Pokemon card set in Japan has all Megas. Look at that. Look at all these Megas. Ooh, we love Megas. I actually think Megas are pretty cool. And these boxes are flying off the shelves. Even guess what? I think ZA will be cool. I don't think it'll be stellar. I'm gonna be honest with you. Legends Arceus was cool. It was not stellar though. The only true stellar Pokemon games, in my opinion, are Gen 5. I think those are really good games. Other than that, the rest of them fall into good to just downright terrible, like Sword and Shield. Pokemon is not lazy, even though their games are. They know exactly what they're doing by putting more creative juices into making better designs, so they can sell more merchandise in turn. What's happening now with modern games is that they're just becoming the sacrificial lamb for Pokemon's huge profits. That's all. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you. Bye.